Hey sports fans, today we're diving into one of the most electrifying stories in NFL history. The 2013 Denver Broncos offense that rewrote the record books. Buckle up, because this tale has everything: a legendary quarterback's comeback, mind-blowing statistics, and an ending that nobody saw coming. This is the story of how one team redefined what we thought was possible on a football field, only to learn that sometimes even perfection has its limits. Picture this. It's 2011, and Peyton Manning, one of the greatest quarterbacks ever to play the game, is lying in a hospital bed, about to undergo his third neck surgery in just 19 months. The football world held its breath. Would we ever see the Sheriff take another snap? This wasn't just any player. This was a four-time MVP, a Super Bowl champion, and the face of the Indianapolis Colts for over a decade. His legacy was secure, but his future, that was anything but certain. The nerve damage was so severe that Manning couldn't even grip a football properly, let alone throw one with his signature precision. Fast forward to 2013, and Manning isn't just back. He's leading what would become the most explosive offense the NFL has ever seen. But let's rewind for a second, because this story deserves the full treatment. The journey from that hospital bed to Mile High Stadium is one for the history books, and it starts with one of the most shocking moments in NFL history. After being cut by the Colts, yeah, you heard that right, the Colts cut Peyton Manning. Several teams came calling. The Titans, Cardinals, and 49ers all made their pitch, but it was the Denver Broncos who won the Manning sweepstakes. John Elway, no stranger to late career excellence himself, saw something in Manning that others might have missed. Maybe it was that burning competitive fire, or perhaps it was the meticulous preparation that Manning was famous for. Whatever it was, Elway bet big on the 36-year-old veteran. And folks, that gamble paid off bigger than a jackpot in Vegas. The 2013 season kicked off with a bang that still echoes through NFL history. In the season opener against the defending champion Baltimore Ravens, Manning didn't just win, he threw 7 touchdowns. 7! Some quarterbacks don't throw that many in a month. The Ravens weren't exactly slouches on defense either. This was the team that had just won the Super Bowl, but Manning and his offense made them look like a high school junior varsity team. The football world stood up and took notice. Something special was brewing in Denver. But here's the crazy part. That was just the beginning. This Broncos offense was like watching a video game on easy mode. They had weapons everywhere you looked. Demaryius Thomas, with his blend of size, speed, and acrobatic catching ability, was a defensive coordinator's nightmare. Eric Decker the perfect complement, making impossible sideline grabs look routine. Wes Welker, fresh from New England, brought his slot receiver wizardry to Denver, turning short passes into first downs like it was his personal mission in life. And then there was Julius Thomas, the former basketball player turned tight end, emerging from nowhere to become a red zone nightmare. They were the NFL's version of the Avengers, and Manning was their Iron Man, orchestrating everything to perfection. Let me throw some numbers at you that'll make your head spin. The Broncos scored 606 points that season, more than any team in NFL history. Think about that for a second. That's nearly 38 points per game. They racked up 7,317 yards. That's over 4 miles of offense. And get this, they had 5 players score 10 or more touchdowns. The previous record was 3. They weren't just breaking records, they were obliterating them. It was like they were playing a different sport altogether, and the way they did it was just as impressive as the numbers themselves. This wasn't a team that was running up the score against weak opponents. They were doing this against playoff teams, division rivals, and some of the best defenses in the league. They scored 50-plus points 3 times in the regular season. That's not supposed to happen in the NFL. Teams started games against Denver already feeling defeated, knowing that even their best defensive game plan might not be enough. The complexity of their offense was something to behold. Manning would come to the line of scrimmage, survey the defense, and make calls like a chess grandmaster seeing moves ahead. He'd point, gesture, shout Omaha, and somehow his teammates knew exactly what he wanted. It was football artistry at its finest, and we were all witnesses to greatness. Manning? Oh, he was just casually having the greatest statistical season any quarterback has ever had. 55 touchdown passes, a record. 9 games with 4 or more touchdown passes, another record. And just to put the cherry on top, he threw for 5,477 yards, beating Drew Brees' record by 1 single yard. Talk about precision. The man was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers, and he was doing it with a surgically repaired neck that doctors once thought might end his career. But here's where it gets interesting, folks. You see, there was this narrative floating around that Manning couldn't play in cold weather. The critics loved to point to his dome days in Indianapolis, suggesting that he was somehow a fair weather quarterback. Well, on a frigid 18-degree day against the Tennessee Titans, Manning didn't just play. He threw for 397 yards and 4 touchdowns, including a career-high 59 passing attempts. Consider that narrative buried in the mile-high snow. The regular season was a masterpiece, but it wasn't without its challenges. They suffered a tough loss to Manning's old team in Indianapolis, a game filled with emotion and drama. They bounced back from a heartbreaking defeat to Tom Brady's Patriots in a game where they led 24-0 at halftime. But through it all, they kept rolling. The offense was so good that even when they had an off day, they were still putting up numbers most teams would dream about. They finished 13-3, securing home field advantage throughout the playoffs. And it seemed like destiny was on their side. The pieces were all falling into place for what looked like an inevitable Super Bowl run. In the postseason, they took care of business against the Chargers in the divisional round, though it was closer than many expected. Then came the AFC Championship game against their old nemesis, Tom Brady and the Patriots. But this time, Manning and company weren't going to be denied. They dominated the game, with Manning throwing for 400 yards. Punching their ticket to Super Bowl 48 in emphatic fashion. And this is where our story takes a dramatic turn, because waiting for them in New York were the Seattle Seahawks and their Legion of Boom defense. It was the unstoppable force meeting the immovable object, the highest scoring offense in NFL history against one of the most dominant defenses we've ever seen. The anticipation was electric. This was supposed to be the ultimate test of football philosophy. Could a historic offense overcome an equally historic defense? What happened next? Well, sometimes reality doesn't follow the script. From the very first snap, literally the very first snap, when the ball sailed over Manning's head for a safety, everything that could go wrong did go wrong. The Seahawks didn't just win, they dominated in a 43-8 blowout that left football fans everywhere stunned. The greatest offense in NFL history was held to just 1 touchdown. It's like watching Superman encounter kryptonite for the first time, and it was just as shocking. The loss sparked endless debates that continue to this day. How could a team that seemed unstoppable for 18 games look so mortal in Game 19? Was it the 2-week layoff before the Super Bowl? The unfamiliar neutral site? The cold New York weather? Or was it simply that on that day, an all-time great defense proved to be the perfect antidote to an all-time great offense? These questions still spark heated debates in sports bars across America. So what's the legacy of the 2013 Denver Broncos? Were they the greatest offense of all time? The numbers certainly suggest so. Their regular season accomplishments stand as a testament to what's possible when elite talent meets perfect execution. But their Super Bowl performance leaves us with one of football's most intriguing what-if scenarios. It reignited the age-old debate. Does offense win games but defense win champions? Well, one thing's for certain. We may never see an offense quite like this again. They didn't just push the boundaries of what we thought was possible. They shattered them. And while they may not have gotten the fairy tale ending they were looking for, the 2013 Denver Broncos offense remains a testament to what happens when extraordinary talent meets perfect timing. They showed us what football perfection looks like, for 18 games at least. Well, that's all for today, football fans. If you enjoyed this deep dive into NFL history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay updated on more incredible stories from the gridiron. Let me know in the comments which historic NFL team you'd like me to cover next. Until next time, keep the passion for the game alive.